Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, let's pull up this screen. All right, folks, we got two elite in-state players that are high on the Vols. They're both 5 stars. So these are some guys that would be, look, one of them's a must-get. The first guy we're going to talk about is we got to get him. That's just all there is to it. There are just certain players in your state that you just can't let get away. That's just a fact. This guy would be really good for us, and he's a defensive back, so obviously we need to get him. He's the type of player that you have to go up against with Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and all those types of teams. So we'll get into him in a minute. Also, we're going to talk about a 5-star quarterback that's in state as well that looks really good, and he's high on the Vols as well. But first, I wanted to talk just a moment about Josh Heupel and his raise yesterday. I covered it in one video, but I'll put together some graphs that I think are pretty interesting that really kind of show exactly what Josh Heupel's done over the years. And this first chart, this shows his quarterbacks that he's had over the last several years and the touchdowns versus interceptions. And this goes back to 2015 with Kent Myers. He threw 19 touchdowns and 3 interceptions that year. Then he was the offensive coordinator at Missouri. Drew Lock was his quarterback there. First year he was with him, he threw 24 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. The next year he threw 45 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Then when he went to UCF, 34-6, 33-7, 34-4. Then he got Hendon Hooker, 31-3, 27-2. So incredibly consistent as far as large number of touchdowns, very consistent with a low number of interceptions. I mean, this is pretty typical for a Josh Heupel quarterback. And needless to say, those teams won a lot of ball games because when you've got a quarterback throwing, 5 or 10 touchdowns to every interception, you're going to win a lot of ball games. And that's what he does. Now, there are people out there calling it a gimmick offense and fluke, which is just laughable at this point. I mean, look how many years in a row that is. I mean, that's crazy. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years he's done this. Look at all the different quarterbacks. And by the way, Joe Milton in 2022 threw 10 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. So every quarterback that he works with improves, gets better, and puts up great numbers. It's funny, Hendon Hooker was benched at Virginia Tech, and if he didn't get hurt, he probably either wins the Heisman or finishes second. So it's what the guy does with quarterbacks. It's incredible. And if you're a quarterback out there in high school, you're a super high 4-star or a 5-star, and you're not looking at the Vols, then you're not looking out for your best interests, okay? Look what he's done with these other quarterbacks. I mean, it's an absolute offensive circus. When you come to Knoxville, you're going to light it up. And if you don't think those NFL scouts are going to notice that and those NIL deals, I mean, if you're a 5-star quarterback, you need to be looking at Knoxville and Josh Heupel. And by the way, he just got a big raise and extension, so he's not going anywhere. You don't have to worry about your coach leaving you or anything like that. It's an almost no-lose proposition for a quarterback. So I'm not really worried about us getting quarterbacks. We're going to get them, but we're just going to have such a high-quality quarterback, it's going to be hard to get backups. That's the one problem that we're going to have because, look, now we got Nico, the number 1 player in the country, and it's going to be tough to get backups. But this is 2025 quarterback we're talking about, and another one that I just talked about a few days ago. So anyway, I don't think 2025 will be a problem at all. And here's another chart that I put together, and this is for the Vols when they were in 2020 under Jeremy Pruitt right here, this fella. And we scored 21.5 points a game, which was 109th in the country. Then suddenly Josh Heupel shows up, this fella. And we go from 21.5 to 39.3. Now we're the 7th in the country in 2021. Then he moves it to 46.1. We're the number 1 offense in the country. So that's what happens when you get the right coach. And that's hard to argue with. And if you'll notice, we won 3 games this year. We won 7 this year and 11 this year. So, yeah, scoring's kind of important. Kind of need to do that. Now, this first player we're going to look at is out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. His name is Cameron Sparks. He is 6'3", 210 pounds. He's the number 1 athlete in the country and the number 15 player in the nation. Now, this guy is very elite. He's only a sophomore, and 2025 is coming, and we've got to stay on top of players like this and make sure that we get them because this is a player we need. He's a defensive back, and as you know, we need every quality defensive back we can get, and this guy is as high-end as it gets. Now we're going to watch some of his highlights. And this first highlight, you'll see that the defense gets beat and the running back takes off, but watch what Cameron Sparks does. You can see he's playing over here cornerback, and then he sees there's a problem. Here he comes. Look at this speed and then the intelligence to, okay, I'm getting that ball out of here. So he just saved a touchdown right there. And that's, that's pretty special right there to be that heads up. And you'll see how quick the guy is and how sudden. Now, understand this guy's a sophomore. And look at that power. That's probably a senior that he's playing against, or at least a junior. But this guy's starting as a sophomore, obviously. Here you'll see him just come up, make the play, no problem. I mean, he reacts so fast. And he's got 2 more years to develop before he'll be in college. Here he's playing safety and just powers him backwards. And he overpowers the guy. Playing safety again. Quarterback's going to run on him. No, you're not. I'll just knock you down. Perfect form tackle every time. Again, playing safety. A lot of times you put your best defensive player back there to make up for all the mistakes, and you're not going anywhere. I mean, that is strong for a sophomore. That really is. So you can see why he's a 5-star. And again, because he is in state, Alabama and Georgia's going to try to get him, and we can't let that happen. Again, this is a must-get. And Josh Heupel, I'm sure, is going to explain to all the players in the state of Tennessee that there's no place like home.
There's no place like home.
There's no place like home.
And he is very high on the Vols, and Tennessee is the current leader for him, and he's been on campus numerous times. So I feel real good about our situation with him, especially being so close by in Chattanooga. Now we've got another player that's a quarterback that's in state, 2025 recruit, and his name is George McIntyre. He's the number 2 QB in the country, number 30 nationally. He is 6'5", 180, and again, he is a sophomore. Remember that. So before anybody freaks out and goes, oh, he's only 180 pounds and he's 6'5" and he's skinny. Well, of course he's skinny. He's a sophomore. He's like 15, 16 years old. So I understand that. Don't be sending me a bunch of comments. We don't need no skinny guy. It's like, look, give the kid a chance. He's going to put on 30 pounds. So I understand he's skinny.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
That's right. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? He's going to be fine when he puts on 30 pounds over the next 2 years, and he's 210. And the kid moves really well. He's a basketball player as well, very talented. But I'm going to show you some highlights that really show why this guy is basically a 5-star. And I consider anybody in the top 30 a 5-star. Some services say top 25 is. Some say top 30. I go with 30. And I featured him the other day, and that's Cutter Boley out of Kentucky. Very similar, about 6'5". This guy's a little bit bigger. He's about 200 pounds. And he throws the ball really well off platform as well. I think these are 2 of the top players out there. And Heupel really likes both these guys because they're ideal for him. He wants 6'5". He wants a guy that moves well in the pocket and has a great arm with good touch and can throw that deep ball. Basically, he's looking for another Nico. And either one of these 2 guys, I think, would be great pickups. They'll probably both end up being 5-stars before it's all said and done. One already is, and the other one's moving his way towards it. So I did want to cover these 2 guys. I know they're not going to be signing until 2025, but understand we've got to stay on top of this because we've got to improve our recruiting. It was great that we finished top 10 this time, but next year we need to be top 5. The next year we need to be top 5 because we're recruiting and playing against Georgia and Alabama, and we've got to recruit that well. Fortunately, we've got a coach who we don't have to have the same talent as those 2 teams to be able to beat them. We proved that this year when we beat Bama. Because of the offense that we've got and the way that Josh Heupel schemes, we can outplay teams that have more talent than us, but we can't have huge gaps. We saw that in the Georgia game. They just had too much talent for us this year. Plus, they were playing at Sanford, and it just made it tough. But let's understand this. We're on the right track, and signing Josh Heupel long-term was a great thing. I'm so pleased that was done, and now I don't have to worry about that crap for a while because there were people coming for that coach. You can just count on it because what he does is very exciting and fun, and the last 2 years has been some of the best times watching football that I've had, and I can't remember when. Maybe Philip Fulmer, I guess, the last time I was this excited about the team back in the 90s. So it's been, 20, 25 years? So I'm pretty fired up about this team, obviously. If you like this content, be sure to hit that button right over here on my left. A lot of you folks watch my videos, you don't hit that little button. It just, boom, it's free. I would appreciate it. It helps me. Also, right over here, YouTube puts my most recent video. It's pretty popular. Check that out if you don't mind. And I hope you did like the content. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.